Hello everybody and welcome back to F1 2019's Reddit League season. We are coming into round 7. Apologies for the delay on the post-commentary version going up. I pretty much finished this race at Spa and jumped immediately in my car to drive up north to go see my dad for Father's Day. So I had a couple of days outside of the house, wasn't able to get on the editing process as quickly as possible. And you see me panicking trying to get the microphone working for a mixer to try and get that recording properly. Just barely before qualifying started up, we were able to get that going, so I was able to stop messing around with all of my settings there. And we're going to go ahead and jump our way into qualifying here. So hopping out just on the outlap now, we're going on the soft tires to do our first run here, kind of set a benchmark. We're just slowing up to let MJ Povey by there. He's on a flying lap. We're a couple of minutes behind getting new setups in and all that, but we're going to go ahead and take a little tour around, come out of the Lacombe chicane and heading down into Rivage, the long, not a hairpin right-hander, but a full 180-degree turn down the hill, then into the tight left-hander of No Name. You got to flick it into that corner now, shooting down the hill into Pouon, a very tough section of track. You touch a little too much of the curb. As you can see, Povey goes out wide and spins it. Definitely an area where you can pick up a lot of track limits penalties just from running wide, or if you catch too much of that inside curb, you will lose it. Now through the campus chicane, the right-left, run it out a little bit wide, then down into the double corners of Stavilo 1, little short shoot, and the flat-out Stavilo 2 to get down the long back straight through the forest as you head down through the last couple little left kinks of Blanchimont. And then we will shoot down our little short straight up a little bit of a hill and into the bus stop chicane to finish up the lap. Now we jumped on board after crossing through Radion and Eau Rouge and turn 1. So here we are. Let's start our flying lap. Get the power down nice and early. Spot out this 100-meter board on the left. Try and get on the brakes all the way down to first gear. Tuck it in to the La Sauce hairpin there and then get out on the accelerator. QX Nemesis goes provisionally fastest at the moment. We'll shoot down the hill, the little left of Eau Rouge, up Radion, and just keeping the car as minimal steering inputs as through there as possible. And now you're down the long DRS zone of the Kemmel Straight. This is why you really run a fairly low downforce setup, but we're going to find about 60 meters there. Break down to third gear to set up the La Sauce chicane. Try and carry as much speed as we can through that second right here. We aren't quite as tight in as you wanted to. You want to really be catching that curb, so not our best run through that corner, but this is just kind of our banker lap to start up. But really trying to be just more safe on this lap, trying not to extend track limits too much. Flick gear down, wait to get on the throttle to make sure your tires are hooked up through the double left-hander of Pouon there and not run out wide. And then into campus, basically just before that curbing starts, you're hitting that brake point. Flick it into the left-hander as much as you can and pick up an invalidation. We really had, like in practice or anything, we had never really invalidated by running wide on that exit. So definitely a strange instance there, but we're going to go ahead and drive ourselves back to the pits then. Not turning the engine down because we don't need to save any fuel or anything. We're going to go ahead, grab a new set of tires, and try again. So here we are into the bus stop chicane. We are still yet to set a time, so we're all the way down in P12 at the moment. We are missing a couple of drivers. Marco Denelson still unable to return. His one race ban was over, but due to working issues and being in a different spot, he didn't have his rig with him, and so is unable to take part today. And Boom Tech also out this time, so that's going to put current championship leader QX Nemesis basically on the real front foot here. Big opportunity to really stretch that lead out, and you can see his provisional pole right now. He's shown very good pace through all the practices, so it's going to be a good opportunity for him to try and stretch that championship lead, but a little bit closer through the chicane of Lacombe there, but not perfect yet. Still trying to be a little bit careful since we haven't yet set a time. We're not going full send. Unfortunately, by using up that first set of tires, we basically have only this set of softs to do a run on, and then we'll go out on the mediums after to try and run. It's a pretty low deg track, very different from Baku where there was a few different strategies, and part of the big reason why I got on the podium at Baku was being able to run that medium to hard strategy while other guys who started on softs had to do a 2-stop strategy and come in again and lose all that time. Here, basically a guaranteed 1-stopper.
We think we may see some rain. ETA is about 15 minutes. Dries seem like the best tyre for now.
Alright, we were checking up on the weather because as we came into this corner, it was kind of decision time. If the rain was going to be coming in and we wanted to qualify on the mediums, we would have had to pit right now and basically throw away this soft tire lap. But earlier on, Jeff was saying that, you know, within about 10 minutes when we had about 15 minutes left in the session there. But we've put a time up finally. We are P7, P8 as somebody goes a little bit faster than us. Now, we are going to have to do a pretty rapid in-lap in order to have enough time to get in, get those medium tires fitted, and make sure we get out before the rain. But here we are out on the mediums. Just under a minute left as we cross the line to start the final flying lap of this session. Really, we're just looking to improve on that soft time. It's going to be pretty tough on the medium tire. It's not as quick of a tire, but if we can just improve by even a tiny bit, we will be allowed to start on these medium tires, and that's going to give us a little extra choice when it comes to the strategy. Hopefully get on the softer tire at the end of the session. But here we are flicking through Eau Rouge Radion over the top of the hill here. Got about a 10th up now. Open that DRS and shoot down the Kemmel straight.
30 seconds left in the session.
There's some yellow flags up ahead just coming out of Rivage. Hopefully that clears up by the time we get there. We have a okay run through the Lacombe chicane. Not great, but we're able to basically keep our 1/10 margin. A little deep through Rivage there. That's going to compromise our exit just a tiny bit. But getting close to about 2/10 up. We run a little bit wide through No Name. It looks like, okay, our Onslaught is pulled off to the side. We've still got about that 0.2 of a second advantage. So hopefully we can hold that the rest of the way. Not as fast through Pouhon, though. You see we lose a full 1/10 coming through there. Really not having the extra grip of those soft tires is really hurting us, and we are just kind of flirting with the edge of improvement. So we have to be pretty mega through the bus stop chicane, I think, in order to really improve our lap time and be able to start on these medium tires. If we're starting all the way down in 8th, I mean, starting on the softs is not going to be a great move for us, but you see we're still about a 0.5 down, 500ths now, so just late on the brakes into the bus stop, flick it into the left, flick the right, try and get the traction down nicely, and you can see that time dipping, and we've gone green. We improved by just under a 1/10, so that's not going to move us up any positions, but that is significant because that's going to allow us to start now on the medium tires in P9. So QX Nemesis, class of the field, only man in the 43s, a couple people in the 44s. We were about almost 2 seconds off, but you see 15 runners on the field to start today's race. And the difference between here and Baku is that in Baku, yes, we had DNFs because of the walls, people running into that, but mostly you were hitting the walls at fairly low speeds, busting up a front wing, and being able to pit and change. Here, if you make a mistake, you are sailing off the track at pretty high speeds, and those outer barriers, even though you've got some runoff area, definitely going to have an opportunity of being a real problem. But here we are, 5 red lights up. Very short run into this hairpin, definitely a dangerous turn 1, so I think everybody's going to try and be a little bit more cautious. We're early on the brakes. That's going to allow Habsfan Nick around the outside. Ooh, somebody catches the inside of the wall, NGP Racer, but he manages to straighten it out. Habsfan Nick gets into the side of us. He's trying to slot in. We're going to blend out as we come down the hill. Don't want to get too much over the heavy fuel weight, and dirty air can cause definitely a spin, so that's going to lose us a fair bit of ground. But all in all, we've held our position through turn 1 safely. Nobody's destroyed, but here we go. We've got Gali losing a position to NGP. Some messes going on in front of us, some damage. Ooh, NGP shoots off to the left, and Gali's out wide. Voki down on the inside. We're getting a bit of a run. We're going to try to go down the inside of us. He kind of turns in, doesn't give us quite a whole lot of space. We're going to leave him space around the outside, and we're going to have to leave it down the inside of No Name. But he just shoves us straight off into the barriers on the wide side, so we lose a ton of pace. And now Gali coming up the inside, so we're going to leave some room for him and he just swings wide and shoves us completely off the track. So we are getting just bullied off the track through the early stages of this race. We're down now P10, areas we could have gained some positions, but through Sector 2, we just got absolutely bullied. But here, Habs fan Nick a little bit wide. We're going to get on the brakes, just kind of settle in, not making an aggressive challenge. He is on the soft tire, so we should have some extra life. But they're slow. Gali coming out of Stavelo number 2, so good run for us. We're going to crank everything up. We're kind of 3 wide headed around towards Blanchemont. We're just going to hang it around the outside, keep our foot in, and it looks like Habs fan Nick has decided to back off through there. It allows us to take that position. So we've gotten up to P7. We're going to go inside, go defensive into the brake zone. Make sure nobody tries to send it down the inside of us, as Gali is looking pretty racy at this point. But we have a bit of a gap, 3 seconds now to try and catch up to Voki, who was ahead of us after we got bullied through Sector 2 there of lap 2. But it's time to kind of put our heads down and just kind of turn laps in. I think we have good pace, and they're going to start to fall off pretty soon as well. Pit window around this track for people starting on the soft tires, we're just checking for damage there, is going to be about lap 7 to 9 typically. But here we are up to lap 6, and we jump up to P6 thanks to a yellow flag that we just cleared in the bus stop area.
You're losing a small amount of time to the car behind. Keep pushing.
And that's NGP Racer, who is behind us in P7 at the moment. And it looks like Voki has dived into the pits there. Maybe front wing damage, having to make an adjustment there. We've got K3M in front of us to try and chase down at this stage of the race. And we are getting kind of better and better laps as the fuel burns off and our medium tires stay pretty well alive. We pick up track limits warning penalty there.
Okay, you're in the top 10.
Got to be careful of the 3 seconds here. I think that's going to be something that if we can stay clean, we might be able to snag an extra position or something. But we are decent through Sector 2. We definitely have to save ERS through Sector 2 pretty frequently. And, almost running out on all 4 wheels onto the curving because there's so many long straights and so few real heavy braking zones. You really have to look to manage your electrical charge. So Sector 2 is a good area to really recharge it without losing too much time.
We anticipate good levels of grip for the next few laps at least.
We've closed up. We're now 1.4 seconds back of K3M, so we're just going to continue to try and reel him in, as I think the soft tires, they're starting to feel the effects of some of that deg. We are starting to feel it a little bit on the mediums, but not nearly as much as those guys are, and we're just kind of looking to use high electrical deployment modes. And K3 goes way deep in the first turn of the bus stop. That's going to cede quite a bit of ground to us here. Let's see if we're going to be able to get into DRS range. We're inside 1 second at the start-finish line. We need to be clean through La Sauce here. And it looks like that whole group has kind of made some mistakes, so we're really closing it up. So let's crank the electrical deployment up, see if we can't get onto the back bumper of these guys here. This stage, enough fuel is burned off that we're able to, with the right line, take through Erosion Radion flat out. DRS is open, but as the energy is bleeding off, we're not quite close enough to make an attack, so we're just going to flip the electrical down, not burn any more of it than we need to, and try and save some of it for our next attack. But we are P6 at the moment. It looks like QX Nemesis has opened up a pretty big gap to one of the Renaults. I believe that is a Racer 04, and then we've got MJ Povey, Fast 6 driver, K3M, and then us in P6 of the 14 runners at this point. I think somebody has had a DNF at some point early on. But it looks like it was in a safe area, so no nothing eerie. But safety car is out.
Keep your delta number positive as we form up.
And on the mini-map there, that's a red dot from out in front in the barriers. Is it cause? Is that QX Nemesis in the walls dead? Oh no. A handy lead in the race, opportunity to really increase the championship lead, and he is out of this race. So another opportunity for somebody to take a win. And now with QX Nemesis out, that means that the person who's going to win this race will be a first-time winner on this league. Boomtech, Marco Denelson, and QX Nemesis were the winners of the previous events. So now whoever takes this one is going to lead. So now we're in a tough spot. All the soft tire runners are obviously going to dive in for this cheap pit stop. It's basically dead in their pit window. So they're all going in, and I decided to gamble and stay out on the mediums because I would have had to go out onto the hard tire to try and make it to the end. And I didn't want to risk, you know, having slower pace basically for the entire rest of the race. Them on a medium, us on a hard. So I don't know if it's going to be the right decision, but that's what we're going to go with. So we're committed at this point. So letting the safety car get out ahead as we have maintained control of the lead. We still have another about 4 laps before we come in for our pit window. So we're going to get the engine turned up, let that safety car get as far away as possible, and we're going to punch it. We're going to try and open up a gap here. Hopefully we haven't gone too soon to where the safety car... Yeah, we've got governed. So we didn't quite let the safety car get far enough away to get into the pit lane. So we did get limited just coming into the bus stop. But now, full racing. So we have to try and build as much of a gap as we can on these early stages here. Racer 04, interestingly, onto the hard tires behind us. Everybody else that started on the softs pitted on those mediums, and there's a huge gap behind. It's some yellow flags through the bus stop, so it looks like somebody had an issue. And is that Voki into the pit lane again, or that's another racing point? So we'll have to find out. But first things first, we need to put our heads down, try and clear a 3-second gap in front of us. So we're going to try and save ERS when we can, but it's full on push mode right now. He's a half-second back, and we've got to try and open up this gap. Now, if he slows up on those hard tires and starts falling back, that's good news for us because that's going to hold up all those guys on the quicker medium tire behind us. But we're green through the first sector, so we're going to keep on pushing. A little bit of a missed downshift there, blipping down to third when we really wanted to carry fourth through that corner. Just kind of the pressure getting to me a little bit wide on the exit of Pouon there, but able to avoid a 3-second penalty warning there. I think we are 1 warning away from taking the actual penalty at this point. As we cross sector 2, 3, and split, we've got a 1.4 second gap on Racer 04 behind us. So we've managed to clear DRS already. So we can start to turn the engine down a little bit. We are going to still want to keep on pushing because those guys on the mediums for sure are going to show some good pace and keep pushing. And we've got to just try and open up as much of a gap as we can before we head into the pit lane. And we'll have to see where we're going to come out. Now we are going to be coming out on the soft tires with about 9 laps left to go in the race. So we definitely have an opportunity to really push on. We should have about a second a lap or so advantage on cars on those soft tires versus the mediums, and at the very end it should be very tight. But thanks, Jeff. We've jumped ahead to lap 13 now. Racer 04 still being the rear gunner. Well, only about 2 seconds back though, so we really weren't able to continue opening up the gap. MJ Povey though setting the fastest lap and closing the gap pretty aggressively at this point. So now it's time for us to dive into the pits and see how many positions we are going to lose. A very tight pit entry. Managed to just try and hit that line as well as we can to dive into that pit lane. Not lose as little time as possible. A tough exit as well. You have to basically do a tighter version of the turn 1 hairpin exiting out. But here we are onto our soft tires. P8, P9 going by a fast 6 driver. It looks like the 2 McLarens are in front of us. And it looks like, though, we should get out in front of Gali Moons 5 in the Red Bull. So we come out P9. So unfortunately, from leading the race and really running in P6 before that, we've lost 3 positions, essentially. But now we just have to try and crack on. See what we can do here to try and close that gap. Of Voki setting the fastest lap of the race at the moment. We're going to dive into Rivage, see what our gap is to those 2 McLarens in front of us. Looks like Fast 6 has gone a little wide. We're starting to close that gap up pretty aggressively. We just need to keep pushing on. We're having to save a little bit of fuel. here and there now to make sure we don't run out at the tail end of the race. Even though we saved fuel. Oh, and 2 cars off. Is that both? Yeah, that's both McLarens are out. Dayman and Fast 6, another safety car out. And in the heat of the moment, I was incredibly upset that that safety car came out then. Because if that safety car had come out a lap earlier, we could have probably gotten into the pit lane and come out on those soft tires in like 3rd. We probably only lost about 2 positions. And I was just really just unhappy with my luck that as soon as I finally, dive in, lose all the time on the pit stops, that I'm having to make another safety car. But on the flip side, it's going to bunch up the field, and we have to just kind of try and chase this Delta as quick as we can, because it does look like some cars, both Renaults, have dived into the pit lane. Racer 04 switching onto a medium tire, and now we have the opportunity. We have to get to the end of the pit lane before he does, and we can take that position off of him. So hit the hairpin, get on the throttle. We see him just on the blip come out, but we managed to take that position from him. So now we can calm down. We don't have to race to catch the safety car lineup anymore. Basically, getting through that pit stop phase was key. But here we are, jumping ahead now, lap 16. What the situation is now is we've got 1 lap old soft tires, and we are sitting behind 4 cars who are on medium tires that they put on at the safety car on lap 7. We have Racer 04 on fresh mediums behind us, but we have an opportunity now. Basically, we make 2 positions to try and get on back-to-back podiums, which is, I was incredibly excited to be on the podium last week. It could be absolutely huge to get on the podium 2 weeks in a row. We did, after our last podium, move up to 10th in the championship after our rough start. It would be a great way to start off the second half of the season here to try and grab another podium. Now, we did save a lot of fuel under that safety car, so we're going to have a lot to attack with. And really, we want to try and clear these guys on the mediums as fast as we can to try and not lose as much time as possible. But right now, Povey is controlling the field. We're just waiting for him to step on the throttle and send us into the pit lane quickly. A little dummy start there. But there we go. It looks like they've taken off. Yes. Get the foot down into the bus stop chicane. Try and have a good run through here. No overtaking until we cross the start-finish line. So we have to back out. A little bit of a lockup behind K3. Is a little slow through there. But now, a little bit of wheel spin getting on the throttle. A little over-eager. But now we are across the start-finish line. And let's see. 3 laps until we have a DRS, and it's basically a 5-lap shootout at this point. Lap 17 of 22. Only the last 2 laps are we really going to have DRS to attack with, so we got to try and make it the old-fashioned way, but we are pretty well in the slipstream here. We are running a fairly low downforce setup. And let's keep that engine cranked up. So here we're trying to slipstream as much as we can. We're going to pull out to the inside. Not quite late enough on the brakes. K3 is able to just hold us off down the inside. A little bit of a touch there. End to tire, but all clean through Lake Home there. So unfortunately, our first big opportunity to jump K3 is lost. Really not a good chance to overtake through Sector 2 here. So we are kind of just sitting in dirty air, and Voki now is the only other one to really dive in on that safety car to come in on first soft tires, and we've gone a little wide, but we were out of the throttle, so we've managed to get away without a warning there as well. But Voki on the soft tires is going to be looking to close up that gap to us, and we are already starting to lose touch with the 2 leaders. MJ Povey and NGP Racer in the other Ferrari, trying to do his Ferrari teammate proud after Nemesis was out. We're only 0.3 back, but 2.4 is what the gap was at the moment to Voki behind. And he is showing some significant pace on his runs. So let's see, are we going to be close enough to get K3 into the bus stop? We're going to look. Ooh, we're a little bit late on the brakes. We lock up and get into the back of him. So instead of a dump and run, we're going to go ahead and let him through, take that position back. But that's going to cost us a huge amount of time to Habs Van Nick in front of us.
We're not going to be able to run in this engine mode much longer. We're about a lap over target. Drop down to mix too soon.
Don't tell me how to manage my fuel, Jeff, but K3 goes a little wide on the exit of turn 1, so that's going to give us an opportunity to run. We're going to save a little bit of fuel coming down the hill because we don't want to get so close through Rouge and Radion. We want to be really gaining coming out of it. And now we've got slipstream crank it up, we should have a much better opportunity to attack him now. We're getting alongside much earlier down the straight. There's yellow flags behind us. Fingers crossed that no safety cars come out. This time we are fully alongside. Ooh, a VSC is out, so not a full safety car. But it came out right as we made after we completed the pass, so we weren't going to have to give that pass up. It would have been awful if that VSC came up as we were making the lunge and had to hand that position back. So now we just have to tease that delta, try and keep it as close to 0 as possible. When it ends right around the 1/10, we're going to pin it. All right, so we barely lost a tenth and a half under VSC, about as well as you can do. So I will take that as a very good run through the VSC there. But jumping ahead to lap 21, only 2 laps left to go in this race to really push it. And we are behind Habs fan Nick here. DRS is available to us. Open up that rear wing and tuck into the slipstream. See if we can make it. Voki is behind us now. So here we are up the inside, pretty well clear, but we were a little early on the brake zone there. So he's able to pull alongside of us through Lake Home, but side by side, here we are through the third corner. We leave him space around the outside. We're able to get that job done after shuffling side by side. We stay on the inside to defend because of Voki looking to make a move down the inside, and Voki's past Habs fan Nick there. And it looks like he's kind of sideways. He's dropping back quickly on the mini-map there. Oh, he stopped. There's yellow flags behind us. It looks like Habs fan Nick, after running in P3 all the way to the penultimate lap, has been dumped coming out of no name. And now we have to try and put our eyes ahead and behind, looking in 2 different directions. 1 lap left to go to try and catch this lead pack. Now on lap 20, we did run wide at Puon and pick up our 3rd track limits warning. So we are carrying a 3-second penalty. So fingers crossed that Voki does not have, or Voki also has penalties. Now I've seen him kind of run wide a few times throughout this race on the minimap. So just kind of keeping my fingers crossed, but we are sitting in a podium position and trying to reel in the top 2 guys. We are getting close to NGP Racer. Let's see what the time is as we cross the line. 2.1 seconds back, so if he's carrying multiple track limits penalties, we could actually jump him again and go into P2, but we've saved some energy through turn 1. We've managed to keep ourselves out of the DRS range of Voki, so he's not going to overtake us on track on merit. It's going to be, if he's going to get by us, it's going to be via the penalties. But MJ Povey in the Williams is out in front right now, controlling the gap to NGP Racer. Now those guys are on those older medium tires, but we are losing time on our soft tires as well. So we're pretty much even on the tire wear categories here. But that push on the soft tires allowed us to overtake a couple of cars and get ourselves into this 3rd position. We just need to make it the rest of the way, stay clean. Even if we go wide on a corner or 2 here, we will just pick up a warning. We need 3 warnings for a track limits penalty, so we're basically on our new fresh number 1, so we can run a little out. Fuel mix though down to 0, so we've got to be a little bit careful, make sure we don't run out of gas. We're going to switch to lean mix through the campus chicane. That should give us just enough fuel to get across the line at the tail end as we come through Stavolo 1, Stavolo 2. So have 1.4 seconds, so we're not going to build enough of a gap to clear Voki with our 3-second penalty. We just have to hope that he has penalties of his own. But NGP Racer out to 2.7 ahead of us. So we're going to use the last bit of battery, as you can see, down to about 5% before we hit the braking zone to get down that last straight as quick as we can. And then get a nice good exit out of the bus stop chicane. We're going to cross the line on merit P3. Voki crosses the line, stays P4. Gali and K3 jump him as they cross the line, but we are clean. We are on to our 2nd podium of the season, 2nd podium in a row. So a great way to start the 2nd half of the season. I'd have to double check the standings spreadsheet, but I believe that puts us up to P9 in the championship now and really makes the midfield constructors battle very, very tight. Last I checked, it was 20 points covered P4 to P9 in the Constructors' Championship, so definitely an opportunity to make some ground there. But a huge second result for us. Another opportunity to spray some champagne on the podium. This time with MJ Povey taking his first win of the season. He took a lot of wins in the mini championship on day 2, but it's his first one in the main championship. And like I said, a first-time winner was guaranteed for this race as soon as lap 7 happened and QX Nemesis went out. So unfortunate for him, not able to grow his championship lead, but his top 2 challengers were still not quite right there. But here you go, finishing results there. Povey on top, NGP Racer second. We take the final step of the podium. Gali Mooms is in there at P4, Fast 6-5, K3 is 6, Voki drops all the way P7 with some penalties. Racer 04, P8, interesting with that second stop strategy. He was really hounding us. I think he could have gone all the way to the end on those hards, but chose not to. Felix the Feline, P9, and Chuck SRQ rounding out the points paying positions. Only 11 finishers in this race. Habs fan Nick, unfortunately, after running P3 on the penultimate lap, finishes last man running after getting dumped and basically having the entire field go past him. But surprising to see so many DNFs. I mean, QX Nemesis was out. Both McLarens went out on the same lap. Then we had Onslaught go out in his Mercedes, and then our teammate also had some connection issues and had to retire, much like we did in Canada. So that was unfortunate for him. He was glitching all over the place, and he was already engaged in some tangles, so he had to retire as well. But that is going to do it for Belgium here. Next week, we've got Germany coming up, which is going to be quite a tough track. Not one of my favorites. Turn 1 is incredibly unforgiving, but we're going to go ahead and stop the main broadcast, and we're going to close up the recordings as well. But I will catch you guys for next week's race. I should have them out much quicker than I did this week's because I won't be out of town, but I will see y'all next time. Peace.